Yo, what's going on, everybody? Jude from Jump Rope Veteran back at you. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in again. In today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about my nutrition philosophy and some things that have helped me, my stance on carbohydrates, fats, protein, fasting, and some different tips and tricks that I use to stay lean and stay healthy, and some things that you might want to consider putting into your own nutrition plan and programming into your own nutrition plan if you want to. These are just my thoughts, some things that have helped me out over the past couple years since I started intermittent fasting and paying attention to my health. Please hit that red subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, hit that thumbs up button, and share the channel with your friends. All right, let's get into it. So my overall take on nutrition is pretty simple. It's pretty simple. What I try to do with my nutrition is the number one thing I try to do, is to avoid sugar and refined carbohydrates as much as I can. If you take anything out of this video, I would take that one thing out. If you can avoid sugar and refined carbohydrates, that's going to accelerate any kind of weight loss plan you're on. It's going to keep you lean, and it's also going to accelerate the benefits from any exercise that you're doing. The reason why that is the number one thing that I do, avoiding sugar and avoiding carbohydrates, refined carbohydrates 90% of the time, is because the reason that most of us put on weight is because of high blood sugar. And high blood sugar comes from eating a lot of refined carbohydrates and a lot of added sugar. When you eat refined carbohydrates and you eat added sugar or something with a lot of table sugar in it, like some candy, some cheesecake, a piece of chocolate cake, anything with refined sugar and refined carbohydrates in it, what happens is it increases your blood sugar. And then once your blood sugar increases, your body signals your pancreas to release insulin. And what insulin does is it regulates your blood sugar. The other thing that insulin does is it causes your cells, mainly your liver, to store fat. So this is the number one reason why people gain weight and why they just can't seem to lose the weight, is because most of the time people are continuing to eat sugar and continuing to eat refined carbohydrates. Because let's face it, they're really good. I'm human. I do enjoy a piece of cake every once in a while. I don't drink soda anymore, but I do enjoy candy. I think that those sour gummy worms are really good. That's one of my weaknesses. So everybody enjoys that stuff, and it's addicting. But that is the main thing. What's a refined carbohydrate? A refined carbohydrate is a carbohydrate that has had the fiber extracted from it. And it's also called a simple carbohydrate. And it's called a simple carbohydrate because what ends up happening is it digests very quickly in your body. So if you eat a piece of candy, that carbohydrate, all the carbohydrates in there and the sugar, is going to digest very quickly because there's no fiber in it. Fiber slows down the body's digestive process, which makes you less hungry. So that's why if you're eating a bag of candy, you're just going to feel like you can continue to eat more. And you're going to eat more, and it's going to cause your blood sugar to rise, and it's going to cause your insulin level to go up, and then your body's going to store fat. So that's the number one thing that I try to do. As part of my philosophy is 80 to 90% of the time, I avoid sugar and I avoid refined carbohydrates like white bread, white rice, anything where the fiber's been taken out of it, white pasta, anything where the fiber's been taken out of it. And what I try to do, I do eat carbohydrates. My carbohydrates typically come from vegetables, mainly broccoli. Broccoli is one of my favorite foods. Broccoli, sweet potato is another complex carbohydrate. Ezekiel bread is another complex carbohydrate, and you see a lot of bodybuilders eating Ezekiel bread. Tons of fiber. So what you want to do, you're not on a ketogenic diet and you still want to eat carbohydrates, you want to make sure that you're eating complex carbohydrates that digest slowly, that have a lot of fiber in it. My attitude overall on carbohydrates is carbohydrates kind of get a bad rap, right? There are many that are good. broccoli, sweet potatoes, Ezekiel bread, any kind of vegetable is normally pretty good. Even fruits, although some fruits have been over time made to be sweeter than their predecessors were hundreds and thousands of years ago. Some fruits, you may want to avoid it at times, but much of the time, fruits have the fiber in it that you need. So I think that carbohydrates get kind of a bad rap. But what you really want to do, and this is important, and I alluded to it in my earlier part of the video, is there are good carbohydrates and there are bad ones. You want to avoid the simple carbohydrates as much as you can. So that's what I do. And that's my attitude on carbohydrates. I don't think that they're evil. There are good carbohydrates out there, and I try to focus 80 and 90% of the time to eat good carbohydrates. Fat gets a really bad reputation in our society. I think it's just mainly because of the name fat. I think that's why fat gets kind of a bad rap. But eating fat is something that I try to do as often as I can in my diet. Eating fat has helped me stay lean. It really has. And if you haven't heard of this concept before, it's basically what ketogenic diet is about, what ketosis is about. Dietary fat triggers the least amount of insulin response in the body. It increases blood sugar the least amount between proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. So that means that you're not going to have as much of an insulin response when you eat fat. What are some foods? Some foods that I eat every day: macadamia nuts, a lot of good fat in it, olive oil, almonds, any kind of nuts, Brazil nuts, lots of good fat, very little carbohydrates, and also lots of fiber. Much of the time, if you have something like a macadamia nut, you have probably 2 grams of carbohydrates, but you also have 2 grams of fiber. What that does is the fiber cancels out the carbohydrates, so really you have not consumed any carbohydrates from that standpoint. So I think that fat gets a bad rap, but my macros right now, I normally get 60% of my calories come from dietary fat, unsaturated and saturated fats. I eat hamburgers, I eat all sorts of meats, chicken, things like that, because they're low in carbohydrates. Chicken breast is high in protein, and also chicken thighs are high in fat as well, and hamburgers are high in fat, and steak also. That's my view on fat. I think that fat is really underrated, but eating fat can actually help you stay lean. So that's what I try to do. Protein. Sometimes I drink protein shakes, sometimes I don't, but I try to get a good amount of protein in on my diet. Protein is in the middle of fat and carbohydrates as far as triggering an insulin response. If you want to eat protein, you want to get your protein from a clean source. So you don't want to get a protein bar that has more sugar than protein, especially more added sugar than protein. RX bars are probably an exception to this because all of the sugar in RX bars are from naturally occurring sources, the figs mainly, and the nuts, the almonds, the cashews, and the peanuts that they put into it. But if you're getting something like one of those Gatorade bars or one of those Cliff Built bars, those are all added sugar. They have added sugar in it, so they defeat the purpose. When you drink protein or you get a protein supplement or you're eating protein, you want to make sure that it's clean. It doesn't have a lot of carbohydrates to supplement it. So good examples of clean protein: egg whites, chicken breasts, and any protein powder that has very, very little sugar in it. So when you get a protein powder, it should have like 20 or 30 grams of protein per serving. And then it should really have no more than 1 gram of sugar in it. And that sugar should be naturally occurring from the milk whey isolate. It should not be added sugar at all. So that's the kind of protein you want to get. But I try to drink a protein shake every few days so that my muscles can recover from my strength workouts and my jump rope workouts. And even from going on a jog, you're breaking down your muscles, so you want to make sure you recover. Another part of my nutrition philosophy is the way that I go grocery shopping. The main thing that I do when I go grocery shopping is I take a quick scan of every food label, on the things that I think about buying. And what I've done at this point is I've trained myself to look at a couple things very quickly to see if it's a choice I should be making or a choice I shouldn't be making. One of the first things I look at is going to be sugar content. Is there any, how much sugar is in it? Is there any added sugar in it? And then that's the main thing I look at to make the decision on whether or not I want to buy that product. The next thing I'll look at the amount of carbohydrates, and then I'll look at the amount of fiber. If the item has a lot of carbohydrates in it and then it doesn't have much fiber in it, I know instinctively that that's a refined carbohydrate, and most of the time, 9 times out of 10, I'll put that item back. So I quickly scan food labels to ensure that I'm making the best choices 80 to 90% of the time. Now, there are at times I'll go out there and I'll get a piece of cake or something like that if it's a special occasion, but keeping that 80 to 90% where you're making good choices. You're getting vegetables, you're getting complex carbohydrates, you're getting stuff like macadamia nuts, almonds, stuff like that. That's what you want to stay at 80-90% of the time. So that's how I do grocery shopping. I quickly look at the labels. I look to see if there's any sugar in it or how much sugar is in it, because most things have a little bit of sugar in it. I look to see the sugar content, added sugar content. I look at carbohydrates, and then I also look for trans fat. I look at the ingredients. I try to find anything that says hydrogenated, partially hydrogenated, or shortening. Any of those three labels or any of those three ingredients there will tell you that there's trans fat in the item. Fasting is the cornerstone of my nutrition philosophy. I started doing intermittent fasting back in January of 2018, and it's been the best decision I've ever made for my health and my nutrition. It helped me lose 40 pounds and lower my cholesterol by 80, but more importantly, intermittent fasting has helped me stay there. I still enjoy the foods that most people say you should stay away from and that I stay away from 8-9 times out of 10. I still enjoy donuts every now and then. I still enjoy pizza. I still enjoy cake, cheesecake, all that stuff. I just don't do it very often. And since I'm fasting, that helps to counteract eating those foods once in a blue moon, or even once or twice a week. I'll eat those foods and I'm still able to stay lean. My health is still good. Fasting is really the key. And if you haven't tried intermittent fasting, I would definitely think about it. Start with the 16-8. All that really is skipping breakfast. So you can start eating at 12. You stop eating 12 p.m. that day. You stop eating the night before at 8 p.m. I know that everybody says, or you've been taught growing up, that breakfast is the best meal of the day. I'm not going to call people who promote that liars or anything like that. That's not what this channel is about. But I will say that breakfast is not as important as you may think it is. But before you try it, I would go see a doctor just to check that block and make sure that you don't have any underlying conditions to where it might not be the healthiest choice. But I can tell you that fasting, I still do it today. Most days I only eat one meal. I'll go 20 hours without eating. I started with the 16-8. Now I do one meal a day. It took me about a year. I probably could have done it earlier, but it took me about a year to get up to that point. But now for me, eating once a day at the end of the day, or eating within the last 4 hours of the day, it has helped me tremendously. It's helped me stay lean, it's helped me stay healthy, and it's increased my mental focus and my clarity throughout the day. It's also given me a ton of time back and a ton of energy back. Because when you think about it, eating takes a lot of time, especially if you go out with friends. It's going to take about an hour to eat. So if you do that 3 times a day, I mean, that's 2-3 hours out of the way. Also, even if you just go get a burger from McDonald's or something like that, and you're sitting down by yourself, that's going to take 10 or 15 minutes to eat. But the thing that most people don't think about is it takes a ton of energy for your body to go through the digestive process. If you're not eating during the day, you get tons of energy back and you get tons of time back. And then at the end of the day, you can reward yourself with a larger than normal meal within the guidelines, of course, within reason. So fasting is the cornerstone of my nutrition. Fasting and largely avoiding refined carbohydrates and sugar are 2 of the most important things. what do I drink? Now, I try to keep that list very short. The things that I drink on a regular basis are water, black coffee, and almond milk, unsweetened almond milk. Those are the three beverages that I drink, I would say, on a daily basis. I definitely drink water on a daily basis. I try to get at least 72 ounces of water per day, depending on how active I am. And then black coffee, I drink every day. Most days I'll have at least 2 cups of black coffee, sometimes 3. The black coffee helps to curb my appetite if I start getting hungry during my intermittent fasting period. And then almond milk. I use almond milk with keto cereals that I like. Unsweetened almond milk is only 30 calories per cup, and it also it barely has any carbohydrates in it. It has 1 gram of carbohydrates per serving and 0 grams of sugar. You want to stick with the unsweetened. There's lots of sweetened almond milks out there. I would recommend staying away from those and going with the unsweetened. You'll get used to the taste over time. I haven't had regular milk in, I'd say, it's been at least 3 years since I've had a cup of regular dairy milk. I just got away from that. It has 12 grams of sugar per serving, and then almond milk is just a lot healthier for you, in my opinion. So that's what I drink: water, black coffee, almond milk. Alcohol, I do consume alcohol. I'm not gonna lie to you, and this channel is all about being upfront and honest. I consume alcohol. I would say I consume 1 or 2, maybe 3 drinks per week, and that is mainly on the weekends, on a Friday night or a Saturday night or a Sunday night. I do my best to not drink during the week. I'll have a drink, maybe 1 drink on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, but for the most part, I save that for the weekend, and it'll only be 1 to 3 drinks per week, and it's not gonna be by myself. It'll be with my family, and we'll just sit down, have a drink, a beer or a seltzer or a mixed drink, and then that'll be that, and we'll enjoy each other's company. But beverages, for the most part, it's water every single day, black coffee every single day, and unsweetened almond milk. So wrapping it up here, as you can probably tell, my number 1 priority in my nutrition philosophy is doing my absolute best to avoid sugar and refined carbohydrates 80 to 90% of the time. If you can do that one thing, you will be healthier for it. Different people have different results with weight loss, but it will help keep your blood sugar under control, which will in turn decrease the amount of insulin that you have going through your body, which will then in turn decrease the amount of fat that you store in your body. So that's the number 1 thing, is being cognizant of the amount of sugar and refined carbohydrates I'm eating. The second priority is intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is a huge beneficial life hack. It's one of the most beneficial life hacks out there. It's given me tons of time back, tons of energy back, and it's helped me stay lean and healthy. So that's the second priority in my nutrition philosophy. The third most important one is drinking enough water. That'll help curb your appetite with the fasting. It'll keep you hydrated. Water, it helps keep me alert. It helps make sure that I'm performing at my most optimal levels, whether that's doing jump rope routines or reading or anything like that. It just helps make sure that my mind is operating at its peak performance. Taking care to ensure that you don't overeat and overconsume refined carbohydrates and sugar, drinking enough water, intermittent fasting. Those are my 3 top priorities in my nutrition philosophy. Some honorable mentions would be eating fat. I eat macadamia nuts every single day. I have at least 1 serving, sometimes 2. Great source of healthy fats, very low in carbohydrates. As are almonds, a little bit higher in carbohydrates, but macadamia nuts are my go-to. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you got something out of it. If there was something in here that I didn't talk about or that I didn't go into detail about when I was explaining the way that I approach nutrition and my nutrition philosophy, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram at Jump Rope Veteran. You can send me a question. If I don't know the answer, I'll still get back to you. I'll tell you I don't know. I'll always be open with you and give you my honest opinion about nutrition, because the most important thing is getting this information out there, because so many people don't know about it. So definitely DM me on Facebook or Instagram if you have any questions. If you don't have Facebook or Instagram, leave a comment in the comment section below asking about your question. Maybe I can do another video on your question if there's enough information out there about it and if I do enough research on it. Leave a comment in the comment section below. If you have a specific nutrition philosophy that you follow or different priorities than I do, I'd love to hear about them. Put those in the comment section below, and then maybe we can talk about it. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, share the channel with your friends if you're getting value out of the information that we're putting out here at Jump Rope Veteran. Until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, jump rope to freedom. Peace out, everybody. Thanks a lot for your support.